this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of things. There's a lot of news today. It's like you find a good story, like, ooh, I'm definitely going to talk about that. It's like, ooh, I want to talk about that. Ooh, I want to talk about that. And it's like, your show is full. So there's definitely a lot of other things I can say, but it's Friday, and we're going to try to get through everything we want to get through and still keep it an hour. Perhaps we'll go longer. I don't know. I was going to read this whole entire article from LA Times about this hot Cheeto story, but I don't know if we'll get through that because I definitely want to talk about some other things too, and that are going to take a while. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in today. I see you in the chat. Got someone from Scotland watching. It's pretty impressive, pretty cool. Thank you guys watching the chat. Those who are going to watch it back later. If you like what I do here at blacktnews.com, you can go to blacktnews.com/donate, and you guys can give that way. Cost to stream, cost to run my website, all that stuff. So if you can support, God bless you. Appreciate it. Bible says you have not because you ask not. So I'm going ahead and I'm asking. So thank you very much for those who do that. But thank you to those who comment, those who like. That helps visibility, that helps with views and other things like that, that help revenue on the show. This is monetized, at least on YouTube. So you guys can also do super chats and stickers, but it does really help. So thank you guys. And if you're watching and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Make sure you guys are dropping your emails on the website, and you guys are following me across different social media platforms. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, there should be links in the chat, or in the description rather, that you guys can click and like me on, follow on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Rumble. I'd really like to grow my Rumble numbers. I know I need to post some more there, but you guys got to follow over there anyway. So go ahead and, make that jump. So today we'll be talking about this Flamin Hot Cheeto movie that's coming out. And I found out today, I was today years old when I found out that it's like not true. And so I just read like the article not too long ago, maybe like an hour ago. So I have fresh feelings about this, and I'll tell you why. I have really fresh feelings about this. Also, Obama had some words for Senator Tim Scott, which I find very interesting. And also Fox News, there was a story that Daily Wire broke. I guess sometime yesterday, I saw that glory hole was people were talking about glory holes, and I didn't know what that was, and I didn't want to know what it was, and unfortunately I do now know what it is. But I just went on my nose, so some Fox News employees leaked some information to them about some very woke stuff that goes on in the company, or some things that they have when they log in, or I guess trainings and different suggestions, books for them to read and places to donate. And so it's pretty woke. So some people have asked like, oh, well, I had retweeted it, and someone said, well, the same company that does Simpsons, of course, they're like woke or whatever. And I don't know if people are thinking that they're owned by Disney, because like Disney does own Simpsons and stuff, but they did break away some of their company. So Fox News like isn't under Disney, it's under like Fox Corp. So Fox Corp is still like Fox News, and it's I guess some sports, and it's also like some of their TV shows. So really, really wild stories for today. But before we totally jump into it, I do also want to encourage you guys to go check out different merchandise at the store as well. I'll just show a thing or two. Like we got the black tea mug here. We got this cool Frederick Douglass tea about the Constitution is a Glorious Liberty document that he gave in his War as a Slave to 4th of July speech that he actually gave on the 5th of July, which is a really great speech. So I recommend you guys getting some gear for 4th of July, because that's coming up really fast. I think you'll have time to put an order in if you do it now. I think so. Don't hold me to it, but I think so. So got these, you are not that special. Got those in mugs as well. and t-shirts. And I'm not the victim you're looking for. That's a really cool shirt that people really like. So you guys can check out that different merch. Okay, so first thing I want to mention, I don't really have something funny today. It is a joke though. It is a joke. There's this headline here about to show you guys. I split my screen so you guys can see this. Realtor helps LGBTQ plus Texans leave state through Rainbow Underground Railroad. So there's some other lines that are similar to this that people use, things related in Black history at a time when there were obvious human rights violations. And this ain't it. Like being able to get a home like in broad daylight isn't the same as, being caught and having to go back and be enslaved, or, the people helping you being jailed, if not killed. Um, so stop this. Just stop this. And you might be asking, why do so many people like relate this to, especially like LGBT stuff? Because people will mention me like, why won't you just use their pronouns as a discriminated group of person because you're a Black woman? How can't you? Why won't you just respect the pronouns? I'm like, that is absolutely not the same. Stop it. I did a very quick short the other day and I put it on TikTok too. There was a trans woman who walked into a Popeyes. It was the whitest Popeyes I'd ever seen, by the way. I don't know where the Popeyes was at. All the employees are white. So I'm like, where is this at? Usually I go to a Popeyes, it's like a hood Popeyes. But someone was upset because one of the employees allegedly called them a sir. And they were just going crazy. And they're like, that's a slur. That's like calling me the N-word. And like, no, it's not. It's really not. Being honest about what you are isn't a slur at all. So you could just stop. You could just stop all the way. If you're curious about why there is so much comparison, like with the LGBT stuff, there is a. If you're interested, one of my followers had actually sent me this some time ago. Vadi Bachman. He's a um evangelist who is a Calvinist. I'm not a Calvinist, but so I'm not always going to agree with Vadi Bachman, but essentials I guess will be pretty much aligned with the stuff he said, that I was like, nah, bro, there's a lot of stuff that he said like that sounds pretty good. He's a pretty good teacher though. But he did a video about the gay being the new Black or something. It's a two-part series, but at least the first one where they kind of talk about how that evolution kind of started is very interesting. So if you have time, and you're interested in the kind of background and how that evolution kind of started with this comparison, I recommend giving it a watch for sure. But I don't know, have you ever read a book? Have you ever seen a movie to know how disrespectful this comparison is? You're talking about buying houses versus people not wanting to be enslaved and trying to get away. One of my favorite stories, because it's just so, I don't know, theatrical, I guess, is Box Henry Brown. And he was a slave who his master wasn't that bad or whatever, but his master ended up selling his family. So he's like, but I'm getting out of here. So he concocted a plan to mail himself to freedom in a box. And it worked. And it worked. But the only thing was that he started traveling around with his box and talking about it and became like a little celebrity. And people in the abolition movement was just kind of like, why don't you use some discretion? So someone who tried to do the same thing, the guy who like tried to help him, tried to do the same thing, and he ended up getting caught because, of course, this person is talking a lot about how he got, free from the box situation, and I think he ended up being killed. He was at least if not arrested, I think he was killed. Um, but that's a pretty wild story. He ended up being offered to like buy his family, and then he didn't. And he like went to England or something and became a magician. It was, when I say theatrical dramatic, it is a it's a crazy story. But I brought it up just because there's real skin in the game with people who help people in the Underground Railroad. Like it was a dangerous journey, and it's not the same as people leaving Texas because they don't like whatever's going on for pride. So we just live in a really wild world today. And I just, one of the many things I wanted to make you aware of before we started on our long journey of news on today. So um, there is a big celebration at the White House, or there was rather, because there's this movie coming out about Flaming Hot Cheetos, the how they were created. And it's a very inspiring story, at least I thought so. So let me show these a couple of these pictures from the White House event. So they had a screening of this film at the White House. Um, so they're pretty excited. They're like, I guess this is a Hispanic based film and about the American dream, minorities and such. And so President Joe Biden, First Lady Joe Biden are hosting a movie screening of Flamin' Hot on the White House South Lawn tonight, featuring director Eva Longoria. And so, and they have a mariachi band, and of course Cheetos, and so, having fun, very big deal. And it's already obviously happened because there's pictures. Some people were saying that Biden groped her, but I didn't. I mean, they slowed it down. Maybe he grazed her, but um, I wouldn't call it a groping. I mean, he's definitely done weirder things to women. So just want to put that out there because that's the rumorville. So when I first saw the commercial for the film, I didn't really like it because I thought it was a little too goofy. And because when I had first heard this inspiring story, I was just on Twitter and someone was telling the story in a really great manner. They just talked about this, how there was this janitor who working for a company. They didn't say the name of the company, and they said, they talked about the humble beginnings and how they had dropped out of high school, or dropped out of school very young, and was working, and it was always taught to just, do your best and you'll be able to succeed, etc. So he treated those floors like they were his floors and was this amazing janitor. And then one day the head of the company gave a speech about treat everything like you own it. And so he decided to take some initiative, and he realized they didn't really have spicy kind of food and stuff. So he got some Mexican spices and some of their product that they had, and um, called up, actually just directly called up the CEO of the company and wanted a meeting. And so he made his own little bags and went in the meeting and pitched Flaming Hot Cheetos, and they loved it. And he ended up going big in the company, and of course it became the big phenomenon that it is today. And so they didn't reveal that it was Flaming Hot Cheetos till like midway through the Twitter stream. And so like even how they were telling the story, it was like riveting. And so it was inspiring, it was exciting. So I told it to my siblings, and they're like, oh my gosh, when I got to the hot Cheeto part, I I went to church and I read this thread because it was so inspiring. It was so inspiring. Um, so when I saw the trailer, I was like, I would love if this actually wasn't really a comedy, because I feel that it's such an inspiring kind of story. Like I know it's about hot Cheetos, but it is really like a great story about the American dream. And I think don't think it needs to like probably have this goofy tone that looks like it's gonna have. But I was today years old. Today years old. When I found out the story, like, is it true? It's not true. So, um, the man allegedly behind the hot Cheetos, it turns out, it's not true, but Richard Montoyez, um, he's a person this film is supposed to be about, and he didn't actually make hot Cheetos. So he did work for the company. He did rise up the ranks, though. I think when he had like a meeting, he wasn't really a janitor. He had worked his way up to like being a, a mechanic or something. And he, thought of new sort of ways to improve the factory, and they implemented it. And it's, I believe that he actually did introduce like different kinds of foods to Frito Lay, like a hot popcorn and stuff. There's other things he took credit for, tried to take credit for, that he didn't make, but um he didn't make hot Cheetos, so it's not something that came from him, from this California factory. Long story short, there are people from Frito-Lay who are working out of, like, the Chicago and Detroit market, so in my mind, I'm like, it's hood food, and it and they just observed that there's other hot kind of snack foods out in the market already, and people were really enjoying, and that people really liked, and they were like, we have to get some kind of hot food out. And so a team came together and really, ended up producing it. But as far as like the name Flamin' Hot Cheeto, that there's a woman is responsible for that. So she this man ended up like telling the story, and I don't know why no one at Frito Lay kind of like really said anything about it as he started to kind of tell the story a couple years ago. But one day the actual creator of Flamin' Hot Cheeto saw it on a blog, and so she wasn't with the company anymore. And so she reached out to the company, and so they started doing investigations and stuff, and nothing really made sense. The CEO who he claimed he heard, who inspired him, wasn't the CEO at the time, when that story would have had to come together. And kind of his timetable of when he allegedly, claimed he came up with hot Cheetos, it was already pretty much hitting the market, like test market. So it doesn't, by all accounts, doesn't seem to be true that the seasoning and the spices for hot Cheetos, they got that from like McCormick, who's like doing their seasoning and stuff. There's a paper trail. So and they still largely use the same ingredients that they used back then when they got it from them. So it's amazing to me. Like, there's a lot of movies not really based on true stories, or they're kind of inspired and then they get made into stuff, and they, twist things. There's some stories that, that are, like a biography, and the story isn't really, up to snuff, and there's a couple things that are different, like Moneyball, stuff like that. There's things that are largely true, and there's elements or different characters, whatever, that they change. If you watch something like Greatest Showman, that's like totally like it just inspired off true events, not really based on true story. I though I love that movie, but this is a lie. Allegedly, I guess, from all the information that has come out from this report from Los Angeles Times. And so um I wonder why this has just kind of been able to evolve in the way that it is, in the way that it has. But he ended up leaving the company, I guess, to really pursue doing inspirational speaking, and to get anywhere from like, tens of thousands of dollars for telling his story at these different places, you know, but it's not true. And he has an inspiring story, working your way up from being a janitor to being a big wig at a big company like that. That's, that's no small feat. But I guess it doesn't have the same ring as I invented hot Cheetos, flaming hot Cheetos, which is like a phenomenon. But it's not true. And he's taking credit for things that other people did. And the fact that it like evolved because of like a need that people saw in like the Detroit, Chicago market too. I'm just like, and I'm from Michigan. I'm like, I would be like in the Detroit market. So that's um it's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. So Richard Martinez has for years told a story of how he dreamed up Flamin' Hot Cheetos while working at Frito-Lay janitor. More than a dozen former employees. The archival record at Frito-Lay itself says otherwise. So it's an interesting read. I'm not gonna, you know, read the whole thing because it's kind of long, but yeah, he tells a story and he's altered it a bit from when he like at one point in time, he started talking about this other executive that maybe he got the idea from, but then he redid his memoir, and or did his memoir, and it started reverting to the story that he was inspired by the CEO who couldn't have been there at the time where he was allegedly inspired to do all the events that happened. Um, so let me see if I can just get to the name of the yeah, he gets anywhere from 10,000 to 50,000 per appearance for his speaking engagements. Um, and he's got a memoir which he's addressed like these rumors of the story not being true and him making it up. And he did a post or something and said just to people like, you have to write your story because there will be other people who try to change your story, negate your story, etc. And so it just seems like he's gaslighting. Now, I don't doubt that there be a company and people within the company who want to hide a story, you know, to change the details and other people get credit for stuff that they did or I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that that's possible. But they're just things that don't add up. Even like his he will say that he dropped out of school like in 4th grade or whatever. Um there's evidence that he at least went to high school, didn't maybe finish high school, but at least that's a different kind of timetable. And I know people can tell stories and they can get details wrong. Some My dad, he's told a lot of stories over the years, and sometimes when he's over the pulpit we're like correcting as he's telling stories. It doesn't, the older you get, the more you kind of don't remember things as well. But this is seems it's fabricated according to Los Angeles Times and the company and records from what they can find. So that's him right there. That's him right there. But none of the records show that Richard was involved in any capacity with Flamin' Hot Test Market, Frito-Lay wrote in a statement to the Times in response to questions about the internal investigation whose existence was not been previously disclosed. We have interviewed multiple personnel who were involved in the test market, and all of them indicate that Richard was not involved in any capacity in the test market. That doesn't mean we don't celebrate Richard, the statement continued, but the facts do not support the urban legend. Uh, Flamin' Hot Flamin' Hots were created by a team of hotshot snack food professionals starting in 1989 in the corporate offices of Frito-Lay's headquarters in Plano, Texas. The new product was designed to compete with spicy snacks sold in inner city mini marts in the Midwest. A junior employee with freshly minted MBA named Lynn Greenfield got the assignment to develop the brand, and she came up with Flamin' Hot name and shepherded the line into existence. So it's whatever they're going to do, whatever they made, whatever they released, whatever they premiered at the White House. It's not true. As far as what people have said who were involved at the time, from the records of Frito Lay, again, the recipe has appeared to have come from McCormick, and they haven't really changed it much. He did work in the company. He did rise in the company. He did apparently, suggest things with Hispanic kind of elements, but that the purpose of hot Cheetos was to appeal to an inner city market from like areas in the Midwest where I'm from, which, isn't a surprise to me because we do like hot snack foods. Like my mom loves better made potato chips. My dad joked, maybe not joked. He said the only thing that him and my mom argued about was the potato chips. They don't really argue, but she does like her better made bags. She'll get like a pack of like tiny bags and stuff, and we'll snack on them and stuff. But It's a good story. It's a good story. That's why I shared it. It's a good story. That's why I told it in church. I'm pretty sure I probably even read it on air to you guys at one point to talk about just the inspiration of the American dream, what you can accomplish. And another thing that's so annoying is that there were I when the story was shared on Twitter, so many people were like, "Oh, you can't really rise like that. That's just like one story and etc." And it's like, why can't you guys just believe in like the American dream? And now the story's not even real. It's not even true. At least not the hot Cheeto part. Other parts about like a Hispanic man climbing up the corporate ladder. Yes, that is true. But why the lie? Why the lie? So, do you guys plan to see the movie? I don't know if I was gonna go and see it in theaters or whatever anyway, but I don't know if I have the heart to watch this fiasco. That's just not true. Oh my gosh. So it's an interesting read. It's an interesting read for sure, but the story just doesn't add up at all. Um uh Someone said if the story existed, believe me, we would have heard about it. And they said this guy should run for office if he's that good at fooling everyone. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled a lot of people for sure. Um, but it says 6 of the former employees remember inspiration coming from the corner stores of Chicago and Detroit. One of the earliest newspapers articles about the product corroborates that detail. A Frito-Lay spokesperson told the Dallas Morning News in March of 1992 that our sales group in the northern United States asked for them. And Fred Lindsay, a retired Frito-Lay salesman from the South Side of Chicago, feels that he can be more specific. I'm the one that was responsible for getting us into Flamin' Hot products. In the late 80s, were cutthroat time in the corporate foodstuffs, and PepsiCo Incorporated, Frito-Lay's parent company, was fighting a market war on three fronts. In its restaurant division, Pizza Hut was clawing in its way into delivery to fend off Domino's, and Taco Bell resorted to free soda refills to undercut the competition. Thank you to Taco Bell for that. Pepsi's beverage business was locked in the decade-long cola war with its flashy CEO Roger Enrico pouring millions into ad deals with Michael Jackson and Madonna to peel people away from King Coke. Enrico is a CEO who he claimed, inspired him to um make the Flamin' Hot Cheetos or take the initiative to do it, but the dates don't match up. Frito-Lay's battle was quieter, but just as brutal. The company had been in the reigning champion of salty snacks for decades, ever since Frito Company and HW Lay and Company had first merged, but Anheuser-Busch had come out swinging with its National Eagle Snacks line, and Frito-Lay was losing ground. Lindsay, for years, worked the sales beat in Chicago and the Great Lakes region, where he witnessed spicy products from regional competitors just blow off the shelf at corner stores and gas stations. So he started beating the drum for marketing department to gin up something. I was fighting mad to try and get hot stuff in the market, Lindsay said. And this is so funny to me because when I was born in '89, so it was hot Cheetos was obviously a thing when I was a big thing by the time I was a kid. And I actually don't love hot Cheetos myself, but we'd get out of school and we'd want to go to the corner store or something. Like there was a gas station that we would pass on the way home. My mom did not like us stopping any. First of all, they really probably shouldn't have let us walk all the way where living from school all the way home. We did not ride the bus. We walked. Um, if I told you guys, you mostly wouldn't know where it was, but we probably should have got picked up or took the bus or something. But she didn't want us to stop anywhere, but sometimes we would like go and the gas station or something. But or there was another store that we pass on the way home too. But there was a store that was like on the corner of where we lived, and so sometimes when we came home we'd ask mom or could we go down to the store and get a quarter bag of chips. A quarter bag of chips which don't like exist anymore. Like I think the quarter bag of chips are smaller and they're definitely not a quarter. So we man, our prices are so crazy. But and I know if you're older than me, you're probably like, I remember we could get that stuff for a nickel, but I remember quarter bag of chips. But that hot everybody loved hot Cheetos. They're flying off the shelf and people liked the spicy stuff. Um so this being a big thing in like Metro Detroit areas or in Chicago and stuff at these corner stores, it makes so much sense to me. It makes so much sense to me. By the time he got promoted to corporate headquarters in Plano, he worked at the UDS business, shorthand for up and down the street, meaning any liquor store, sun-dry shop, or mini mart smaller than a grocery store. His idea had been taken up by the marketing department. The funny thing is, I heard maybe a year ago that some guy from California was taking credit for developing hot Cheetos, which is crazy, Lindsay said. I'm not trying to take credit. I'm just trying to set the record straight. The assignment to create spicy competitor products landed in the inbox of Sharon Owens, a product manager in the single serve group at the time. Unlike the mainline brands, Fritos, Doritos, Cheetos, and Lay's, whose managers were expected to serve as custodians of just one product, single serve was organized around a format individually wrapped products made for cramped mini marts and customers with just a few quarters to spend. That was me. Owens recalls that she assigned the project to a new employee, Greenfield. My gosh. Flamin' Hot was Greenfield's first project at the company when she started in the summer of 1989, fresh out of the MBA program at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Business degrees were practically required to get in the door at PepsiCo in those days, with rare exceptions made for people with BAs at Babson College, Enrico's alma mater. Miguel Lacuma, an MBA classmate of Greenfield's, joined the single serve team at the same time, working on beef sticks, sweet snacks, and other odd products that would sit in a mini mart register. I was on the cookie, Lacuna said, and Lynn Greenfield was on the small bag business. We go on a field marketing tour and bring home 50 different bags of chips that had never been seen in our lives. They say we're losing sales to this kind of product line right now, Lacuna said. And so Flamin' Hots was actually, you could call it a flavor idea. Over the next few months, Greenfield went on market tours and small stores in Chicago, Detroit, and Houston to get a better feel for what customers craved. She worked with Frito-Lay's packaging and product design teams to come up with the right flavor mix and branding for the bags. She went with a chubby devil holding a Cheeto, Frito, or a chip on a pitchfork, depending on the bag's contents, she recalls, a memory independently corroborated by newspaper archives. By the summer of 1990, the product entered its test market. Frito-Lay's trademark for the Flamin' Hot name lists that August as the month of the product made its debut. A trio of Flamin' Hot snacks, Fritos, Cheetos, and Lay's, hit small stores in Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, and Houston, according to the Dallas Morning News article and newspaper ads for the new products in those regions. Frito-Lay corroborated many of the details of this account, writing that as early as 1989, there were regional competitive spicy products on the market, including a spicy bright red potato chip from the Chicago snack company Jay's. In response, Frito-Lay launched a test market of spicy Lay's, Cheeto Fritos, and uh, Baconettes in Chicago, in Detroit and Houston beginning in August of 1990. The company wrote in a statement, Frito-Lay wrote that a product or flavor extension is the work of a number of people across functions as diverse as R&D, sales, and marketing, all of whom are proud of the products they helped create. An internal promotional video for the Cheetos brand from the first quarter of 1991 serves as further proof that Flamin' Hots were already out in the world. The nearly 9-minute video, which Lukasha shared with the Times, and is a day glow green and pink time capsule with Frito-Lay execs in fashionably baggy suits touting the latest and greatest snack aimed at kids, Cheetos Paws. At one point, two DDB Needham advertising executives perform a New Jack City era rap about the coolness of Chester himself. Flamin' Hots appear in the video for less than half a second, and rapid fire slideshow set to MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This alongside two other minor brands of the day, Cheetos Curls and Cheetos Light. The test market soon proved that Lindsay's insight was right and Greenfield's execution worked. Flamin' Hot Cheetos and Lay's rolled out across the country by early 1992 and would slowly grow to become a cult hit. Greenfield, now who goes by her married name, Lamel, said she's very proud of leading the team that put Flamin' Hots into the world and for coming up with the Flamin' Hot brand name. It is disappointing that 20 years later, someone who played no role in this project would begin to claim our experience as his own and then personally profit from it. It's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. Um, and here's what he said in his Instagram account. I don't care what room you're in, there's always somebody in the room that's going to try to steal your destiny. They may even say you never existed. I want you to do this. Write down your history because if you don't, somebody else will. Remember that. And also remember this, the best way to destroy a positive message is to destroy the messenger. Never allow that to happen to you. I'm certainly not going to allow it to happen to me. But the, the time just doesn't add up. So it goes, the story article goes in further about his timeline of events, how they just don't, how basically they happen kind of after Hot Cheetos was kind of hitting the market. And again, the person that he claims inspired him to even like go and do act and stuff wasn't even the leading Frito Lay at the time. So it doesn't add up, doesn't make sense at all in the least bit. And the again, these spices that they got is on record from not being from him. It's from McCormick, the like season stuff company. So it's an interesting read if you want to read it. Los Angeles Times. It's not like behind a paywall or anything. So um how disappointing. Again, I I was like, this is such an inspiring story, and it's not even true. It's not even true. Anyway, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. But I was just floored, floored by this. So Fox News, it was leaked by, and maybe you guys have heard by now because it's kind of like the hot story in conservative kind of media. Um, they are doing some woke stuff at Fox News, and we talked about it before. Some people had leaked some other stuff already, but it's far worse than we thought. So some people from Fox sent out to Daily Wire some stuff when they like log on the computer, which Libs of TikTok did note that when she went to Fox, there were some different like pride screensavers that she thought was weird, and so this is kind of now coming together. But I'm going to go through Matt's thread here. But great work from the Daily Wire. Um, this is, all these companies, big companies, going the social credit score, ESG route of needing to feel like they need to do all this woke stuff is really disturbing because um the Fox News customer is obviously not woke. So what is the purpose? What is the long kind of game for all this? Is it just to change the audience? Is it just to appease your corporate overlords? Because what's going to happen when people just decide to not watch? Like Fox News is, ever since they got rid of Tucker, their main big person, their numbers have not been good, and they're continuously going down. They just had like some of their lowest ratings ever not too long ago. Like it came out, and people are not happy. People are not pleased. There's some good people over at Fox, at least from what we kind of know. I don't really know. I know a few people, I guess. Met a few people at Fox, and not know like a person or two, but there's some people definitely behind the scenes or corporate level who are kind of woke. Are kind of woke. So breaking, we've obtained internal docs from Fox News employees. Fox Corp is celebrating Pride by encouraging employees to read about glory holes, supporting a group that gives sterilizing hormones in homeless youth, and deployed woke AI to monitor everyone. Explicit content. The documents we're about to show you were produced by Fox Corp, which is the parent company of Fox News. These materials are presented to Fox News employees when they log into their employee portal. Let's start at the top. So, is it like Fox News itself that's like pushing out this stuff? Like this is like as he said, their parent company. So Fox, there was like a Disney had bought like 20th Century Fox, so the stuff like The Simpsons and stuff are owned by Disney, but they broke away some of their companies. So Fox News isn't owned by Disney, but it is like Fox Corp. So that's some of the TV shows that they still have that maybe you watch. Um, and I think some of the sports and stuff, but Fox News is under Fox Corp. Under the heading of support one another, Fox encourages employees to donate to the Trevor Project, all for the Ali Forney Center and the LAGBT Center. There's a lot of people encouraging to support to like Trevor Project, and Trevor Project does like a lot of like propaganda and stuff. The Trevor Project, which Fox says is devoted to helping LGBTQ young people, hosts a sexually explicit chat room that connects children as young as 13 years old with LGBT adults. That's creepy. The Ali Forney Center, which Fox praises for rescuing homeless LGBT youth, appears to admit on Twitter and its website that it injects these homeless young people with cross sex hormones, which are known to cause sterilization, which our assistant health secretary has been on video talking about how I mean these people need like parental consent or whatever to be able to do different hormones and stuff, but they if they are like emancipator, they don't have any kind of parental you know figure making the decisions. They can go ahead and get that stuff. So there's some homeless kids out there or foster kids and stuff that are in they're experimenting on, I guess. The Los Angeles LBGT Center, which Fox calls Unstoppable, has posted a video of a mother surprising her trans daughter with a child's first dose of hormones. YouTube removed the footage for their terms of service violations, but a screenshot was still on Twitter. Let's scroll down a bit more on the Fox employee portal. Employees are also encouraged to expand their perspective by reading books by trans activists, including a memoir titled The Fairest about a precocious boy who would grow up to become a woman. So there's a little screenshot of it. The book contains information that's obviously important for Fox employees as they go about their duties at work. For example, an early scene explains what a glory hole is. And I saw people talking about glory holes, and some people were like, "Thanks, Matt. Now I know what a glory hole is." And I didn't know what a glory hole was until I unfortunately read this story. And I started to tell my sister about this thread, and it's like, yeah, they linked to a book that says something about glory hole. She's like, oh no. And she didn't know why she knew what that was, but uh, so I'm sorry, but what's a glory hole? I asked. The chuckles in the room aimed themselves at me. Gavin leaned forward so I could see him in the half second before he spoke. I noticed that he was beautiful. A glory hole is an opening drilled into the side of a restroom stall, he said, like he was reading out of a dictionary. You slide your in and someone on the other side gives you, so that's what that is. That's what that is. Okay. The Fox endorsed book also details the author's graphic description of having a such and such in their mouth. There's that too. Another book that Fox leadership encourages its employees to read, Red, White, and Royal Blue, is about a fictional gay relationship between the Prince of Wales and the president's son. It contains this dialogue calling America a genocidal empire. Um, the book, which Fox suggests will expand your perspective, also quickly devolves into gay erotica. Fox leadership doesn't just pick out books for its adult employees, they also suggested a Pride rainbow filled kids book with a character who comes out as a unicorn, presumably symbolizing coming out as gay or transgender. So, which there are movies, what was that? Shark Tale. It kind of seemed like you had a character kind of coming out but not coming out. Um, Fox further recommends. I don't know if I don't remember who did Shark Tale. It was just like a memory that came up. Fox further recommends that employees listen to podcasts like Query and watch various TED Talks about LGBT life. In one of those talks, a woman explains that undergoing a medically unnecessary double mastectomy is a sign of strength.
But it's this type of structuring that has to be reframed in order to let love in. My body never betrayed me, and my body was never wrong. It's this restrictive binary thinking on gender that said that I didn't exist. But when we met, she loved me for exactly how I showed up. She would trace her fingers along the numb keloid scars left by my top surgery, scars that run from the middle of my chest all the way out to my outer torso. She said that these were reminders of my strength and everything that I went through and nothing for me to be ashamed of. So sprinting towards her hand in marriage was the queerest thing that I could do. It flew in the face of more conventional trajectories of love and relationships because God was never supposed to bless a union for folks like us, and the law was never supposed to recognize it. The possibility that we are practicing is about reinventing time, love, and institutions. We are creating a future of multiplicity. We are expanding the spectrum of gender and sexuality, imagining ourselves into existence, imagining a world where gender is self-determined and not imposed, and where who we are is a kaleidoscope of possibility without the narrow-minded limitations masquerading as science or justice.
As an effeminate Black kid growing up in Louisiana, I was bullied a lot. In elementary school, the other kids called me a girl, and I felt out of place almost all the time. If I had learned in school about the contributions of Black queer people, it would have made an enormous impact on my life. I think recovering these histories can save kids' lives. Today, queer drag is mainstream, from Paris is Burning, to Pose, to RuPaul's Drag Race. And the houses of 21st century ballroom culture, which feature queens who preside over beauty and dance contests, have maintained the same basic structure as Swan's 19th century community. The history of DC's Emancipation Day has largely been forgotten, but the power to choose how we define ourselves, as Swan did, is more important now than ever. And as long as the term queen lives on, anyone who participates in or enjoys watching drag competitions is paying homage to a century-and-a-half-long celebration of African American emancipation.
So I think these groups really, really want to lift up particularly Black queer stuff, which, by the way, if you weren't aware, when people attacking Ron DeSantis for getting rid of African American history or whatever in Florida wasn't true. You have to take courses on, that cover American history, African American studies, and other stuff like that. But what they rejected was that there were courses on things like queer theory as well. So I think there's a big push to, and we talked about it at the top of the hour with that headline about people leaving Texas and helping get homes or whatever, being equated to the Underground Railroad, that it gets people closer to this mind of being able to mix like civil rights and the inhuman treatment of people because of slavery, and mixing that and associating that with LGBT rights. So if you I don't know, don't want to bake a cake, they equate that to Jim Crow or something. So you're the bad bigot people. Those Muslims the other day we talked about in Hamtramck, they're the bad people, though they mostly want to look at white people. like cis white men, right? As being the bad guys. They don't like to like throw their minorities under the bus if they can help it. But that's backwards, oppressive thinking. It's a technique called jamming. Again, Vadi Bachman has a really interesting video that you guys can find on YouTube called "Gay is the New Black." But for the two women who were talking, and I assumed the person, the trans man, was with a woman. She looked like a woman or whatever. I guess now you can't always tell, but they talked about multiplying. How are they going to do that? The lesbians, Anyway, I mean, I guess they could find somebody, but elsewhere on the Fox employee portal, workers are encouraged to attend a Ben and Jerry's Powered Pride event at the New York headquarters of Fox News. Not all Fox employees are happy with this propaganda. That might be why last year Fox experimented with the solution to monitor employees' commitment to DEI, as diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's an AI platform called Escalera, which tracks employees' commitment to the cult of DEI. Fox leadership told employees to sign up for Escalera so that the AI could help them engage in activities that will deepen their understanding of identity and explore more nuanced D and I concepts. Escalera says that it pulls data from various sources, including the email and payroll systems. It generates a peer comfort index and diversity index based on, in part, on how often employees practice microaggression, micro affirmations. Okay. One of Escalera's key functions is to influence decisions involving personnel. The AI can even calculate an attrition cost that different divisions could suffer if they fail to promote DEI. Okay, getting a bit creepy. All the woke indoctrination Fox pushes on its employees seems to have succeeded. Some Fox News employees are openly hostile to their audience. Here's the Instagram page of one employee with pronouns in bio who's highly influential over at Fox News actual content. So there's got pronouns in bio. This employee frequently posts about his work at Fox News, like the Biden victory image he was so happy we got to use. Let me see. That's in the... Yeah, I designed this for Fox News. I'm so happy we got to use it. This Fox News employee also regularly lashes out at Fox News audience. In a recent post, for example, he attacked conservatives' concerns over drag queens targeting the children, writing, "When are you Hicks going to be honest about who the real problem is?" Interesting. And this is very interesting. I know not everybody's going to be monitored all the time for what they say as far as, employees and stuff, but when I worked at like the Michigan Republican Party, for example, I could not post everything that I wanted to post, even things that were like I thought were pretty on brand for being on the right. And I didn't post anything crazy. I could maybe see how it could be controversial, whatever, but nothing that wasn't on brand. I mean, I knew people who posted things, more out of pocket than me, which is really why they were monitoring a lot of people's content, because someone got in trouble and ended up being in the news and stuff because of a meme that they had shared, and it was funny. I won't tell you what it is today, but it was a funny meme. It was spicy though. It was spicy. But one time, I got a phone call to take down one of my posts, and it made me so mad. It was something related to like, I think probably trans stuff, to be honest. And part of me wanted to say, if you can't, I'm not taking it down unless you can explain to me how this is against our values. But I just said okay, took it down, and I wouldn't have been able to do black tea stuff, the stuff I talk about every day. I wouldn't be able to say my piece or whatever if I was like still working there. which I get it and I understand because you are wherever you work, you're representing that company in some kind of fashion and manner. Like if you're working at like a fast food place or something, I don't think you should be kind of held to the same sort of, I guess, standard that I was or whatever. But if you're doing the news like this, and your people know what your job is and you're trashing your audience, and um I don't I don't think that's wise. I don't think that's wise. Not for the whole corporation as a whole. So that's pretty gutsy. The Fox News employee also came out in support of Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence, a group that openly mocks Catholic faith. Catholics wonder why we have an order of nuns to push back on ridiculous garbage, he said. Now that's interesting because if you aren't familiar with that group, I didn't want to share this, so I don't think I retweeted it or and I definitely didn't show you guys on the show, but they had one thing where there was like a Jesus stripper on the cross situation going on. They do things to openly mock faith, and they're disgusting and they're gross, and that's not a group I don't know, want to stand up for. Do the executives and owners just not know what's happening in their company? Are they trying to comply with some New York state law, which New York does have different laws on this kind of stuff? Do they not care? Do they support this nonsense? Fox News audience deserves to know. Or maybe Fox leadership isn't concerned with how the audience feels because they are not really beholden to the viewers at all. Like YouTube, some of Fox's largest shareholders are enormous institutional investors, particularly BlackRock and Vanguard Group. Um, these massive funds consolidate the wealth of millions of Americans and then use their combined voting power to pursue a radical agenda most of those Americans oppose. They are Fox's real customers, and they're getting exactly what they want. So, very interesting thread, very big find. And I don't know if Fox is covering it all. um, but people deserve to know. But I think mostly they should just really kind of clean up their act. They should really clean up their act. But there's a lot of companies, I'm sure, where a lot of you folks work, watching, where you might log in or get some kind of notification or some kind of email, go into the portal and there's stuff that you don't like, that you don't want to see. There's plenty of people who shared with me different screenshots of really woke, Black Lives Matter propaganda stuff, and that I wouldn't really find it appropriate to kind of put out. I'm like, just sell crap. Just sell crap. Appeal to your customer and care about clothes and shoes and food and whatever it is you're selling to your customer. But this is not good for Fox. And I've seen people in my circles, I guess, share the stuff. I don't know how far wide it is beyond that, but I thought it was important to share and talk about, and hopefully it gets more traction, and hopefully something is done about this. But there is a lot of pushback. There's a lot of pushback, especially with like people taking it so far in the schools and with the kids, and their stories, not just with parents upset, but even students across the country that are doing like walkouts or saying my pronouns or USA. So continue pushing back. The Target situation with them moving their pride stuff, I think that was a big deal. What happened with Bud Light was definitely a big deal with Bud Light. And it'd be really sad for Fox News to go down the way that it is going down. But man, I them pulling the trigger on Tucker was really crazy. Anyway, last thing before I let you go, that I want to talk about is Obama made some comments about Tim Scott. So Obama. I know some people on the right will be like, "Oh, I didn't agree with Obama. I don't dislike him. I don't like Obama. I never liked him. I don't like him. I don't like Michelle. I don't like him for various reasons, not just because he's a bad president. And not just because they're policies, but there certain things that they've said, certain things that they've done. I just find it to be so utterly egregious, and I can understand why. He's a lot more charismatic than Biden, and a lot of different people. So I guess I get it to a degree, but I've never been a fan. But anyway, here's his comments about Tim Scott, and then I'll play like some of Tim Scott's comments about Obama.
I'm not being cynical about Tim Scott individually. I am maybe suggesting that the rhetoric of can't we all get along, and the quotes you made about, from my speech in 2004 about there's a United States of America, that has to be undergirded with an honest accounting of our past and our present. And so if a Republican who may even be sincere in saying, I want us all to live together, doesn't have a plan for how do we address crippling generational poverty that is a consequence of hundreds of years of racism in the society, and we need to do something about that. If that candidate is not willing to acknowledge that, again and again, we've seen discrimination in everything from getting a job to buying a house to how the criminal justice system operates, and so that somebody who does the exact same offense, the kind of sentencing, the likelihood that they do jail time is going to be different based on their race. If somebody's not proposing, not both acknowledging and proposing elements that say, no, we can't just ignore all that and pretend as if everything's equal and fair. We actually have to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. If they're not doing that, then I think people are rightly skeptical.
So when I first saw that video, the recount was one who posted it, and the first person I saw retweet it was like, okay, well, what's Obama's plan and why didn't he implement it? If there's all these issues and all these problems, why didn't Obama do something to address them? Why didn't Obama do something to address them? There's a lot of Black people who feel like he did more for like the gay community than he did for the Black community. And as the president, you should just do things that are going to help all communities, but his side believes in like picking and choosing. So people feel like they were overlooked for another group that he preferred for whatever reason. So did you guys see Tucker? By the side note, did you guys see Tucker Carlson wish Obama a happy Pride Month, like implying something? I did not find that clip, and if it's somewhere, please tag me. But I don't know if it was in his long segment for that episode or what, but I just wanted to see the context of it. Side note, just a thought that came to me. But Obama, according to a CNN poll, 54% of Americans, this came out in like 2016, felt like Black-white relations got worse under Obama. So again, a CNN poll in 2016 felt like things got worse racially under Obama. And he definitely said some things at times to fan the flames. But there's accounts within his own administration that made things worse for minorities or people. He talked about the justice system. There are different rules on how to act on college campuses regarding different accusations with men and women and kind of Me Too stuff. Particularly got an innocent Black person, Black young man, in trouble, and he had to prove his innocence, but kind of, ruined his life for a bit while doing so and got kicked out of school, if I'm remembering the story correctly. So, we were talking about justice. I don't think that, he has a good kind of inclination of that himself. I mean, what about, when he was president, like a lot of this pride stuff and gender stuff is exploding now, but like that was really going on, it's been building for a while, but a lot of the woke stuff was really bubbling up within his administration. And Biden could, if Obama didn't walk, Biden couldn't run and fall up the stairs if not for Obama and the sort of things that he did. So his education department and stuff, they made it. There was a case in Illinois where there was a boy who wanted access to a girl's locker room, and school wanted to give him like a private space for him to be able to change stuff, but he wanted access to the woman's locker room because he didn't want to be treated differently. But you're a dude though, but he didn't think so. And so the school was at risk of losing all this funding if they did not comply. That's stuff that happened under Obama. So if you're talking about fairness and all sorts of things, I don't think what that really is, sir. But if you wanted to do more for the Black community to help America, like you were president for 8 years, sir. So what did you do? What did you do? And if you're talking about Tim Scott, and people are noting like this is a half white man who grew up in Hawaii versus they're like, he's from a vacation state is how they put it, which a lot of people go to Hawaii for vacation and honeymoons and whatnot, versus Tim Scott, who is the descendant of slaves and sharecroppers. It's just people want to disregard him and I saw a video today that I'd already seen before, but from Joy Bea from The View talking about Tim Scott and Clarence Thomas and how like they don't really know the true Black experience, and that's why they're Republicans and that's why they're conservative, because they don't understand what it's really like to really face institutional racism, which is so bogus, which is so disgusting. I know Tim Scott, though he says America isn't racist, that he's experienced racism because he gets it all the time from their side of the aisle. And I know for a fact that Clarence Thomas has experienced injustice because the big person who did that is sitting in the White House right now, the high-tech lynching of Clarence Thomas. But he got to experience racism. He was a radical. He was a radical who looked at his life and saw that he had gone too far, that his heart was so hardened, he had to turn back to God and say, please remove this hate from my heart. He had to have a transformation. But do not think that these men, because they came to a different conclusion than you, that they don't care, that they don't have good solutions, and that they're any way less Black. And I'm not saying that Obama said that, but it kind of gets that, I don't know, feel. But a lot of people, other people say that stuff or feel that kind of way. But anyway, here's Tim Scott reacting to it.
He missed a softball moving at slow speed with a big bat. You can't miss this opportunity. And I will tell you, the one thing the far left does not want a Black person to be in this country is a conservative. It is possible for America to come together, but not because of the color of our skin, but because of the consistency of our value system.
So the consistency of our value system. There's so many Black people who are conservative, who have those values, but they just keep voting dim consistently without really thinking it through. And maybe you find that insulting. It's true. It's true. That's why they like and fight so hard for straight party ticket voting. And a lot of people really like that because they don't want you to, they just want you to vote for the whole side. I'm not gonna say that people on the right don't like it in other parts, but for example, we were trying to get rid of that. It's not like enshrined in our Constitution, I think, straight party ticket. So that's not going anywhere. But when we were trying to get rid of it, the Republicans were, I think a judge or somebody ruled that they had to bring it back because basically it would take people in areas like Detroit too long to vote because it would take them too long to read through the names or something crazy that sounded racist. It's like it's taking them too long to read through the names on the ballot. At the time I worked in the Michigan Republican Party at the time of that. I think I did, but I know the person who's the head of urban engagement ended up writing an op-ed about it and talking about how awful and racist it was. So they ended up getting it like back installed. And that, I think that was right before the 2016 election, because the funny thing about it is when they looked at it, they're pretty sure that straight party ticket voting ended up helping Republicans in that race. But I know people who didn't like Hillary Clinton and just went and voted straight party ticket Republican because they, felt like, well, Hillary is evil and they did Bernie dirty. So people voted for Trump for all kinds of different reasons. A lot of people voted for him, didn't even like him. Had people, so many people told me wild reasons why they voted for Trump in 2016. But but so many Black people do have conservative values, and a lot of minorities do, especially a lot of religious minorities. Like we talked the other day about the Hamtramck and the situation going there, how they have a neutral flag policy that they instituted. All these white libs came out all upset to, like, lesbians kissed in front of a room full of all Muslims with a Muslim city council, Muslim mayor. Yes, they instituted a rule where you have to, on city property, you can fly the American flag, they're going to fly the state flag, the city flag, etc. But you can't fly a BLM flag, you can't fly a Christian flag, you can't fly a Muslim flag, Pirates of the Caribbean flag, and you can't fly a pride flag. So they're mad that they can't fly, LGBT flags. And so they came out to protest and said that they felt like it was an attack or whatever. And maybe it was like purposely done specifically so they wouldn't be flying those flags on Pride Month or whatever. It's still a neutral law. Get over it. But yeah, this group of people don't want the pride flags flown. They like diversity, they like minorities and all this stuff. But you don't really want to respect their values, and you would like to just blame it on cis white men. But it's not just cis white men who feel that way. There's a lot of people, particularly minorities, who agree with more kind of conservative worldviews, but they just, for whatever reason, still go and pull the lever for Dems. And there's a couple different reasons for it. I actually have a video deep in my YouTube somewhere about why Black people vote Democrat. I think I'll end up maybe redoing it, but there's a couple reasons why, and some of it is just kind of out of habit and the feeling of it being like a cultural part of your identity to do so. But my parents used to be Democrats. They used to vote Democrat until they had like a revelation. They always had the same values, but they just had to have a revelation that their values didn't match up with the people they're actually voting for. So Tim Scott is right. They don't want Black people to be conservative, or at least realize that they are conservative and start voting accordingly. But a lot of things that Tim Scott says, people do agree with and appreciate. And Obama's just blowing smoke. There's other things, like if he felt like there's more that should have been needed to be done, then why not do it? And a lot of things that they complain about institutional whatever, are things that were implemented by their side of the aisle that has ultimately ended up hurting minorities. Like we talked about this before, and I have to maybe do a video on this about particular policies that the left pushes that have hurt minorities, but they don't really want to acknowledge. But a big thing that we can talk about is like abortion and Planned Parenthood and eugenics. And like people talk about how Black people can't be racist because we don't possess the institutional power. Like that's what they'll say. But don't you think we'd have more institutional power if we weren't disproportionately killing our children? Don't you think so? And someone made a post about someone in Georgia made a post, or the account said something about Georgia and was supporting Gretchen Whitmer, who's a Michigan governor. I think she wants to go to Washington, man. She wants to be president. I think so. So keep your eye out for that. But and I always thought that she'd be a threat if she won like re-election, especially, and she like thrashed it. So don't be surprised if she announces that she's running for president sometime soon in the future or sometime soon. But I think she's gunning for it. But I said, aren't you guys, because they said something about equality, et cetera. I'm like, aren't you guys concerned that a disproportionate amount of, like there's 30,000 babies that are killed in Michigan, like every year, and 56% of those babies are Black, even though we're 14% of the population. And they'll just say like, oh, she's not the one doing it. I'm like, well, she she's vetoed money to try to convince women to not do that. She vetoed funds for pregnancy crisis center. She vetoed funds for those supposed to support adoption over abortion. And was very much into codifying it into, you know, our constitution, abortion, which was super, super radical, which a lot of people didn't understand. But I mean, it gives every individual the right to reproductive freedom, as they call it, male and female, regardless of age and stuff too. There's no like age limit. As a matter of fact, you can't discriminate. So you really couldn't discriminate against a young person if they decided to do that. Now they were saying that, oh, that's not true, and they tried to push back, but what they passed was similar to two bills that they tried to pass before that that literally stripped it of parental consent. So she's certainly not in the business of less Black babies being murdered, or we'll say homicided. If murder is too legal of a term for you guys. So yeah, there's a disproportionate amount of minorities that are killed in abortion. They'll tell you that women of color in particular need abortion. Minimum wage was something that was instituted that ended up hurting minorities, and they knew could unemploy minorities and lead to welfare. But eugenicists were big back in the day, and they thought it would be a good way to get people under the government teat, and that was a good way to control people. So a lot of things that they push on the left, what's the first thing that they'll mention about institutional racism and systemic racism and stuff? The first thing they'll mention is redlining, right? That happened under who? That happened under who? FDR. So we'll have to go into more of that later, but a lot of these Democrats are just so full of it. They don't want long-term solutions for people. They don't want people to be able to kind of recognize their destiny and stuff. And they don't want Black people to wake up and have options. And if you do have a diverse opinion, they'll blame the right or mock the right for not being diverse. And then they will trash people who are on the right and Black and Hispanic, and they'll call them sellouts and all kinds of different stuff, because they don't want to have some kind of intellectual diversity with diverse people. They want everybody to vote a particular way. They just want one giant party that they can rule forever. And don't count Tim Scott out yet. I don't think there's a snowball chance in heck that he will be president. It's always possible that someone will gun for him to be their vice president. I think it's a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a push for DeSantis Scott or something like that. But I don't think he'd do it with Trump. But I don't know how that race will go. I mean, from the looks of things, it looks like Trump is going to be the nominee, but there's so many moving factors. We don't know. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Very, very interesting. Someone said that they saw the Hot Cheeto movie and that they really liked it, even though it was a lie. But I don't know. I don't know. It looked. I would have preferred, from the tone again when I saw the trailer, if it was more kind of like emotional. It looked really goofy, kind of like a comedy and stuff. And I didn't know if I liked sort of the appeal of the actual trailer. But now that I know it's a lie, maybe I can see it later sometime, but I can't go to like the movies and be like, yeah, I'm going to sit down with this pathological liar who stole all these. I feel like it's a little personal now, because I'm like, this is because the Detroit and Chicago markets and stuff, it feels like it should be more kind of a at home like thing. You know, like hood street kind of food. These corner stores, like, I know these corner stores. I know these, like, you know, places where you go in and spend $0.25 for a bag and on these, you know, kind of different products and stuff. So that it sounds so home to me. And this dude out in California just lied and took credit for it. And I know I didn't make it or nothing had nothing to do with it, but neither did he. It's such a bizarre story. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs a stream, run my website, all the good stuff. So if you like to support in that kind of way, thank you very much. Please check out different merch that we have at the store. That's a good way to support the show. Like, for example, I got a black tea mug and other stuff you guys can get at the store. I got a shirt that's with the American flag that says this is my pride flag. Maybe I'll make some other ones as well, but you got all kinds of merchandise you guys can check out. And that's it. Make sure you guys are following me across the different platforms, and I will see you on Monday. Enjoy